Welcome to Trial Site News Weekly Roundup. My name is Adrian and I'll be going over some of our top news stories from this past week. Please click the subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of future videos. This week we start our roundup with connected world news stories. Janssen Pharmaceuticals and Clinical Research Organizations, or CRO, PRA Health Sciences, recently came together and jointly designed what is purported to be the world's first 100% decentralized clinical trial. Now, based on mobile technology, the indication-seeking study assesses the effectiveness of Ivanica in adults with heart failure. This is a notable data point, as there are plenty of talk about virtual or decentralized trials, but most studies are still done in traditional ways. Now, given the sponsors are declaring this study to be 100% mobile and virtual, Trial Site News will certainly be monitoring this trial closely. Turning now to autoimmune-related news stories. A research team from Henry Ford Hospital recently suggested in a medical research paper that treating hidradenitis suppurativa more effectively could involve not one medication, but rather a multi-modal approach, including not only topical and systemic therapies, but also laser and light-based treatments. Now, Henry Ford Hospital has a committed and dedicated dermatology group, and Trial Site News notes their ongoing contributions to patients struggling with conditions such as hidradenitis suppurativa. 23andMe just gets deeper into drug development. First, there was a $300 million GSK deal, Trial Site News discussed, and now the genetic testing company has licensed the rights to a drug it developed in-house to Almirall, which will progress the drug in clinical trials. Don't be surprised if next year 23andMe is directly conducting clinical trials. Remember, this is the consumer DNA testing company. They are transforming, and undoubtedly their value is changing as well. Turning now to opioid use-related news stories. Temple University College of Science and Technology, or CST, has identified a potential next-generation chronic pain relief strategy that may offer safer alternatives to opioids. Based on a collaboration between CST and Genentech, Inc., or Roche, the outcomes were published in the prestigious proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Physicians and healthcare professionals should keep an eye on this one. And now we turn to cancer-related news stories. Transgene, Euronext Paris, a biotech company that designs and develops virus-based immunotherapies for the treatment of cancer, and NEC Corporation, a leader in IT and network technologies, today announced that the first patients have been enrolled in the first in-human trials, evaluating TG4050, a therapeutic vaccine based on the Myeloid technology and powered by NEC's cutting-edge AI capabilities. In these Phase 1 trials, TG4050 is being administered to patients with head and neck cancer who have a high risk of relapse after surgery, and patients with ovarian cancer after surgery and adjuvant therapy. Technology is rapidly transforming medicines and clinical research, and Trial Site News is your partner to make sure it is presented in as transparent and easy to consume format as possible. As it turns out, even a billionaire faces tough constraints in the real world of cancer-focused drug development. A well-intentioned but hyperbolic cancer moonshot pursued big achievements, but in reality has fallen well short of its targets declared by 2020. Patrick Soon-Shiong made a fortune developing a prominent cancer drug, but even with money and the best of intentions, he may have forgotten how truly complicated and challenging drug development really is. Otherwise, why would he have declared such aggressive timelines? Trial Site News is thankful for people such as Dr. Soon-Shiong, and we only hope he continues going forward, but adjusts the goal and objectives for what is feasible at this point. Merck reported mixed results from the Phase 3 Keynote 604 trial investigating Keytruda, Merck's anti-PD-1 therapy in combination with chemotherapy in the first-line treatment of patients with extensive-stage small cell lung cancer, or SCLC. The trial met one of its dual primary endpoints, progression-free survival, or PFS, but missed the other endpoint, overall survival, or OS. Oslo University Hospital, Rikshospitalet, was the site of an experimental autologous dendritic cell, or DC, vaccine that was tested in an open-label Phase 1 and 2 clinical trial in acute myeloid leukemia, or AML, patients. With the primary outcomes announced by Munich-based Medellin AG, the German sponsor announced the measures assessing the feasibility of DC vaccine manufacturing, administration, and its safety tolerability over 2 years was successfully achieved. Moreover, the secondary outcome measure results revealed that after 24 months of treatment, overall survival rate was 80%, 16 of 20 patients, and progression-free survival rate, PFS, was 55%, 11 of 20 patients. This Scandinavian provider is a sophisticated clinical research site, and we'll keep you posted on the story as it continues to develop. Turning now to clinical trial-related news stories. Houston Methodist, part of Texas Medical Center, the largest medical complex in the world, will initiate enrollment for a clinical trial sponsored by Biomerica Inc. and its in-foods diagnostic guided therapy, designed to identify patient-specific foods that, when removed from the diet, alleviate an individual's irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS. It is suspected that the study sponsor is scrambling to find patients to keep the study on track concerning timeline. This is not unusual, as one of the biggest challenges many clinical trials face is a shortage of eligible patients. USC Clinical Research Coordinator Sarah Piplica was awarded $10,000 as part of the Osmond Russell Memorial Scholarship by the Association of Regulatory and Clinical Scientists, or ARCS, as part of a project to create a consumer index for the clinical trials industry. With a process not known to many and feared by some, USC seeks to develop new ways and methods to evaluate and improve the experience of clinical trial participants, all as part of the emerging patient engagement movement. Now, we recommend those interested in standardizing patients' engagement connect with Sarah. An added benefit for any sponsors partnering with USC, they are on the beautiful Sunshine Coast of Australia. The world's first controlled clinical trial for a recombinant bacteriophage therapy opened up recently for patient enrollment. Representing a significant milestone for this field, the sponsor, Lotus Biosciences, now seeks participants for the Phase 1b clinical trial evaluating ECO1, a CRISPR-Cas3 enhanced bacteriophage therapy for use against urinary tract infection, or UTI, often caused by E. coli. Dr. Kevin Williams recently elaborated on the importance of clinical trials. The Chief Medical Officer for Rare Disease Pfizer Biopharmaceuticals described his disappointment in a Phase 3 clinical trial where rivapansel, a potential treatment for vaso-occlusive crisis endured by most that are afflicted with sickle cell disease, failed to meet its endpoint. Dr. Williams reminds all that cutting-edge research and clinical trials are key to making an impact for patients and represent a critically foundational building block for new treatments. The University of Aberdeen, led by Zofia Medzbrowski, cares for Huntington disease HD patients, such as Sandy Patients of Scotland, as the 801-patient global study known as Generation HD1 unfolds. Patients inherited this condition and declared that the clinical program was taking him from a real place of darkness. Now, can this experimental gene-blocking compound sponsored by Roche slow the progression of this deadly inherited disease? Now, this patient and his family have faced a shattering reality. Participating in this global clinical trial has positively impacted his life to the point now for a mission, a cause, and a focus for the good. And now we turn to clinical challenge-related news stories. Insight announced results from the pivotal Phase 3 Gravitas 301 study evaluating itacitinib in combination with corticosteroids in patients with treatment-naive acute graft-versus-host disease, or GVHD. The study did not meet the primary endpoint or the key secondary endpoint. It is no secret that there are not enough clinical investigational sites to fulfill the robust volume of current clinical research pipelines, let alone imminent new research. The problem occurs not only in the United States but abroad, as for a number of reasons. Physicians tend to shy away from becoming a clinical investigator. It is well known that a majority of physicians that become a clinical investigator become one of the one and done category. That is, they will participate in one clinical trial and that's it. The reason for this hesitance and the one and done phenomenon often comes down to regulatory and administrative burdens, economics, and associated business development limitations or constraints. But what if these challenges could be solved for physicians? Would more of them become and stay clinical investigators? Although Trial Site News is vendor agnostic, anytime vendors invest substantially to better clinical investigatory site performance, we surely will recognize this. And in this case, Veeva has announced the SiteVault free product, which offers sites a GCP FDA compliant supporting trial master file cloud-based repository with no license fees. Now, we encourage Veeva to keep thinking about the sites. Novartis keeps surfacing in the news, and not in a good way, regarding the ethics of drug pricing. Could their medical affairs and marketing department need to step back and think things through carefully? Of course, it is a great Swiss-based multinational biopharmaceutical company with its share of blockbusters and innovative breakthroughs, including its recently approved gene therapy called Zolgensma for spinal muscular atrophy, or SMA. Priced at $2.1 million per treatment, the company articulates a value proposition, but it doesn't sit well with most people. Their marketing and medical affairs should think about more and different ways to connect with the public for a more positive brand building. And it starts sometimes with looking in the mirror and evaluating itself carefully. Do you have any clinical news you'd like us to report on? If so, let us know. Contact information is in the box below. Now, if you'd like to watch more, you can click on the videos on the playlists here. Thank you for joining us for this week's Trial Site News Roundup, and remember, subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of updates. We'll see you next time.